It didn't do.
Hey, yo, it's me, Pops Van Marmalade, and you're watching the Comics-Related Madness Network. Uh-huh. So come get some. CromCon. CromCon.
If you're a fan of comic books and comic book conventions, Daytona Beach Comic Con needs to be on your list of must-attend events. It's a show that actually focuses on comic books. Imagine that! This year's event is happening on Saturday, September the 6th, and Sunday, September the 7th. Silverline creators will be there, so we'll see you at the show. If you find yourself in the Orlando area, and let's be honest, doesn't everyone come to Orlando for the House of Mouse? Head over to Coliseum of Comics to get your comic book fix. Be sure to check out their location on East Colonial Drive, where they carry a wide selection of independent comics, including Silverline books. Stop by and don't forget to tell them Silverline sent you. Hey, if you're an independent comic creator looking to get your comic printed, look no further than Kablam Digital Printing. They print our comics and do a fantastic job. They can even print special edition covers. When you reach out to them, be sure to tell them Silverline sent you. Looking for a bold way to boost your business? Advertise with Silverline Comics, reaching readers across the U.S. and around the world. Affordable rates, passionate fans, and national and international exposure, all packed inside thrilling, action-packed comics. All ads must be PG-13, perfect for reaching all ages. Spots are limited. Grab your ad space today and become part of the adventure. Silverline Comics, where adventure lives and your brand thrives. Email us at silverlinepublishingllc@gmail.com for more information. And make mine Silverline.
Hi, this is Tim TK, host of That Silverline Show on Tuesday. Join us at 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific every Tuesday night as we discuss pop culture and the joys of making comics.
Hi, I'm Barb Kelberg, co-host of Silverline's Wednesday Wham. Join us each Wednesday night as we discuss comics, literature, movies, and anything else that may catch our attention.
I'm Roland Mann, and I host Silverline's Silver Sunday. Join me every Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern as we make mine Silverline.
Hello, good evening, everybody, and welcome to Wednesday Slam. I mean, Wham! Welcome to Wednesday Wham! Wham! Bam! Thank you, ma'am. So we are here, ready to rock. So we are joined with the usual gang of suspects, and we are ready to take you on an interesting journey tonight to discuss something that is deep in the bowels of comics. All right, but let's start with introductions, as always, and we will start with, I guess we'll go with ladies first. Tell everybody who you are, Barb.
Everybody's probably sick and tired of this. Of hearing me say, hi, I'm Barb Kelberg. Long time, 36 years of inking, which is going to be very relevant in tonight's conversation because I'm also known as the Empress of Inks, and I'm going to school this peon.
Nice.
And, I've worked for Marvel, DC, Malibu, and everybody under the sun, and now I work for Silverline. I am the creator of Divinity, and I ink several other things in color. I also color now, and I'm the CFO of Silverline Comics.
All right, take it away, venerable artist Rob Davis.
Okay, I'm Rob Davis. I've been a comic book artist since 1986. You do the math. And I've drawn everything from Merlin in the past to Star Trek with Kirk, Spock, and McCoy in the far-flung future, and lots of stuff in between. I've done some of my own works, but as of late, I am working on a project for Silverline, and previously finished up a book called Twilight Grim.
Woo-woo.
And that was available through previews, all 4 issues. And you can also buy those when we do a crowdfunder, but they're available there. And I have been a letterer. Here's how I started my career. I started as a letterer, became an inker for a while, and then became a penciler. And since then, I've done all of them on my own work and other people's. So this is in my wheelhouse as well. And take it away,
All right.
Kaz.
This is not in my wheelhouse. I'm Kaz. One day I'll put one of those fancy settings on there. Maybe I'll put next week I'm trying to figure this out down there. I don't know. But I'm Kaz, a writer at Silverline. Pinned a small issue in the Christmas issue, working on, actually finished Silverline Team Up Volume 2 with Tempest and Miss Fury. That should be coming out pretty soon. And yeah, I'm interested to learn. So right now I am young.
Forget what you're doing for Barb. That's important
Yes,
too.
and I know, but Divinity is such a big title. I haven't really attached my name.
Yeah.
He does a fantastic job. He edits Divinity for me, and I couldn't do it without him. Seriously.
Yeah, and he's just a little too humble to actually say, yes, I do that too. But yes, you do that too.
Yeah.
All right.
Tonight I'm learning, so I'm learning from all this.
Okay, you're going to be in sponge mode.
Yes.
Yeah.
Especially in light of indie comics, because there is an excuse to not do it, right? Which I've used too. So I want to hear, what is the value of it. So there you go.
Yeah.
Well,
All right.
before we get into tonight's topic, I want to remind everybody that we have 1 hour left.
Yes.
1 hour left on paste. Here we go. On the Kalis Fund My Comic campaign. So if you have a chance, get over there. We definitely could use some more numbers, and as Martin will be happy to tell you,
Mm-hmm.
this is his ultimate dad comic, which we hear every week.
Yes. Kalis. This is a
Great
fantastic book. Absolute bang for your buck. It's excellent.
And it's only got about 50 minutes to go, so we won't mind if you pop out or just bring up another tab.
Another window. Yep.
Yeah. Open up another tab and do it while you're listening to us. But please go over there.
Action, adventure, intrigue, sci-fi, CIA, FBI. You got it. It's all in there.
Superhero. Yes.
Superhero. It all makes sense. It's so cool. It's such a great book.
Yes.
All right. Well, I'm Martin Mertonen, and if you notice the glow on my face here, whatever could that be from? That is from my foil cover that I colored for Wolf Hunter. That's all shiny and bright, and you people can't see it, and it's probably glaring in your eyes. But hey, thank you so much for taking a look. And this is the book I colored the interiors on, Wolf Hunter number 2. I also did Wolf Hunter number 1, and you can also get your wonderful copies of the retro comic and the other cover if you wanted that. And if you guys go to the K-List, you can also order all the other books that are available from Silverline, including Cat and Mouse, of course, Barb's Divinity. That's my cover. She was so nice to let me make a cover for her. I am so proud of it. It is a great cover, I think.
It is. It is a great cover.
It's got that,
I love it too.
that guy's look on his face. I mean, like, who doesn't want to open that book and see what is going on with that guy?
Is that? Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. Why is
It's
he freaking out?
simplistic and stark and jumps out at you. That's why I chose it.
And that cover has something called inks. So that brings us to the topic of tonight's discussion, ladies and gentlemen. I don't need no stinking inking. Do I? Do we need inks for comics? Yay or nay? What do we think? Well, with modern technology these days, perhaps not. Maybe we do. What do we think? What do we think?
The ultimate answer to that is it depends.
It depends.
Yep. She's absolutely right.
All right.
And we're not talking about the underwear.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. That's old folks. That's the first thing that pops into your
Yeah,
mind.
but that's folks over 60
Yeah.
plus. Think of that. Yeah.
All right. So okay. So now historically, why Barb, give us a idea as to why were inks so important back in the day.
Well, for one thing, we had back in the day there was a 4-color process. Well, back in the day, back, there wasn't color at all. It was all black and white, especially in your comic strips. And obviously, if you're going to run it on newsprint on the comic strips, you needed to be as bold and stand out as much as possible. So inks were a must. And then when they did go to color, it was a 4-color process with all the little dots, you know. And again, you needed to have holding lines for that stuff. And you couldn't do that without inks. And again, there was no way to scan it in and go directly from pencils to colors.
It was a photographic process that they used, and
Yeah, it was a
sometimes, and it was done on each color is done on a separate plate that the newsprint goes through in the printer, in the huge printers, and sometimes those, after they've gone through a few times, those plates get out of alignment, and if the color doesn't have that ink around it, that black ink to hold it in,
holding lines.
Yeah, as she called it, a holding line, kind of like a coloring book. Then you won't be able to read it because everything will be skewed.
Yeah, the edges would be fuzzy.
Yes,
right. So
very fuzzy.
now, what's the difference? What's the difference between inking a comic and a coloring book?
Nothing.
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 Are you sure?
Yes.
I think there's a
same.
little bit. I think there's a little bit of a difference. They are holding lines, but I think what you're doing with the inking is you're bringing depth to the picture.
Well, I mean,
whereas comic book is more just an outline of everything.
Well, I mean,
doing that.
A coloring book, you're doing your very most basic lines, just for kids to follow. You're not adding depth or anything like that because the
there's
kids
very little shaping done. No shading. Very little cross hatching. Very little lines to give it shape. That's what you're supposed to do with the crayons or the watercolor or whatever you're coloring it with. That's where that all comes in. And it's generally when you're inking for coloring books, especially your figures have a little thicker outline around them, again as a holding line, so that as the
same
kids
with animation.
As the kids are scrabbling on the paper, they're going to go outside the lines.
Right.
So
I think I mentioned last week that I've worked on one animation, and that was for Angry Beavers. And it was very much like a comic book. You're just doing the holding lines because the animators are coloring and shading, inside the holding lines.
All right. So the other thing that I think happens with inking is the thing that happens is you actually allow the art to pop off the page. Because the darker something is, the more strength it has, the more punch it has. And then you can then stick the colors in behind the black lines or however you want to do that, and that just adds another dimension on top. So, and then if you can do your black lines properly, then you can even do it without having color even involved, and you can end up having this very dynamic image. And technically, you're at that point painting with blacks, I would think. So, yeah. All right.
Yes.
Do you want to take a look at some examples of pencils versus inks and see if we might have some thoughts on that? And and the audience at large, please comment as we go. You guys can give us your 2 cents on what you guys think, and we will start
Steve
with
Rude, the dude
Rude.
Nexus.
Very good.
Yeah,
Very
he
good.
is one of the best of the best, and this is pencils. So this is his pencils, and this is Nexus. And as you can kind of see, the lines are kind of soft and a little bit. I mean, everything is there, and I guess you could technically, if you wanted to, you could probably darken this with
hit the contrast.
Yeah.
Darken it just a bit. Take the brightness down a step or two, but up the contrast.
let's see if we can do that. Transform, tonal correction, brightness, contrast. Let's try level corrections and see if that does anything. And we can. That's not doing. Oh, now Clip Studio Paint, unfortunately, is not Photoshop. So, that's not right.
That's high contrast.
Let's go this
it's a
way.
little too high.
There we go.
There we go.
All right. So now we're starting to get this kind of black line thing going, but it's still kind of dirty and muddy.
It's dirty.
Yeah, it's kind of
because if you zoom in, you see a lot of dirt.
Yeah, you see the grit's coming out.
All kind of gritty stuff in the background.
So I mean, you can darken a comic like this if you wanted to, but like, yeah.
It depends on what you're trying to do. If that works for you, then you put color on it, then it works.
Yeah.
Grey Wolf says hello, Grey Wolf.
Yeah.
Hey,
all
Grey
right.
Wolf.
So now if we jump over to another one of his pages, which is inked, we get this, right? Mm-hmm. Now we got some pop, right? We got definition of space. We got,
got hard edges.
We got hard edges. We got I do apologize for my computer program deciding to save. But you got definition. You got things popping out. You got clarity of information. So this is what the inks do in a fundamental way. They just kind of make everything stick out where it needs to stick out. All right. So now, is there anything that you'd like to comment on, Rob or Barb?
I'm wondering, did Steve Rude ink that? Looks like it. Yeah, he's just got.
It has his name in the bottom corner.
Yeah, so if there was another inker, there would be another name.
Yeah,
but yeah, that's actually not his best inks. It's good, but
no. See, I would have made the lines on Ben Grimm's upper leg a lot heavier.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Because he's up front.
Right. He needs a heavier line all the way around it.
Yeah. See, the kind of rule of thumb is that the closer you are to the camera, the heavier your lines are, and the farther back you are, the more it fades and becomes smaller. The underside, like he does have heavier, depending on the light source, that is. If the light source is from above, then you have more shadows on the underside and it's thinner on top. But he kind of missed out on that leg there on Ben Grimm.
Ben is not. Yeah, that's why I'm wondering if maybe he had an assistant do this because
I'm also wondering if maybe he was intending it for color. And the color.
Well,
it doesn't matter.
But even with color, that character should have heavier lines. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's still gorgeous.
It still pops.
Right.
Oh yeah.
That's the important thing.
So then one of the other things that he's doing here is also he's spotting his blacks. Right?
Yeah.
So he's spotting your blacks.
I struggle with heavily.
He's setting up a pattern so that things pop out where they need to be popped out and focus your attention when they need to focus your attention.
And you notice your eye immediately goes to, is that Black Hawk or something? Who's that? Thank you, Black Bolt. Your eyes are immediately drawn to him because not only the competition, but the blacks lead you directly to him.
Yeah, the perspective and the blacks both just pull you right to him.
And I don't think it would be as visually appealing if it was done straight from pencils. It would be dirty and the lines would be rough.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was my so I can't offer anything ink-wise comment, right? But for this show, what I'm trying to take away is, well, what am I missing if I don't do it, right? Mm-hmm. So I think you just answered it, Barb. So if I were to go back to this image, what am I missing if I don't have this in inks and I go straight to color? You may be going for that style. I could actually see going straight to color with this,
and this probably isn't that fair a use here because this is a convention sketch, obviously, because the section in here is blue in comics. It wouldn't have the gray shading that he's got in there now.
Now,
But,
I have seen comics go straight from pencils to colors right from this type of pencils.
Yeah.
Without upping the contrast.
Yeah.
And while some people think it looks more artsy, what I find is that it has a tendency to blur all together. I mean,
it becomes soft.
It becomes soft, like a soft focus, because there are no heavy duty blacks to pop. You know, the shading kind of melts into the coloring.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, I would hope that, you know, if I'm hoping that it will stand alone without color, perhaps, then I would focus more on inks. That's at least what I'm getting from it. If we look at the next picture, you know, that had Black Bolt and Thing and everything in it, I could see myself going, okay, well, maybe I don't even need color at some point, because the picture, if they had done certain things, stands out so much. I could actually without color. So that would be an argument for inks. Yeah.
So I accidentally just did that to this image here, and
but that actually kind of makes the point.
Yes,
this one does.
This picture does exactly what you just said. You don't even need the color in this. Right?
No, it's stunning.
Yeah. So this
it's easily read. Everything's there that needs to be there, and a lot of black.
It's a lot of black. It is, but even though it is a lot of black, everything is like, it's just this is a great picture. I love this picture. Like, so well done. Good angle, then all the details and all the stuff, and then you got the blacks, and then there's some nice washes going on in there. That's kind of neat.
Yeah, I love the spectators in this.
Yeah. So all the spectators are individuals and stuff like that. So very well done. Yeah. All right. So so if you do your inking correctly, you don't even need colors. So, but sometimes you set up the inks to be enhanced by the colors, and sometimes you don't. All right. So here is a very light pencil of a cover for and I believe, I'm not 100% sure, this is an Art Adams cover.
Yeah, it looks like Arthur Adams. Yeah, looks like
so
his stuff.
This is the pencils, and so now this is also a terrible picture, or terrible scan that ended up on the internet. But I found it because it also had the follow up, which is now the cover.
Oh yeah,
right.
That's so much better. See what's been added.
Yeah.
So,
shows what the inks can do.
So this is what the inks do. The inks just add that extra punch, right? So kaboom! Now you got that Wednesday Wham. So there you go.
And look at those really heavy lines, especially underneath. But the Hulk's right leg. Look at on the right hand side of it how heavy that line is. It's like a big brush stroke. Brush stroke there. So that's the light source, I think, is what he's trying to do there, because it's almost straight overhead.
So Barb, if we look at his heel and ankle here in the back of his leg, what is the technique that Art is employing here?
He's using cross hatching.
Using cross hatching
and feathering.
Yeah, feathering mostly.
To soften what that does is it doesn't make it such a solid line,
harsh,
but softens
line,
it. Yeah, harsh.
Right.
It softens it a bit so that it looks more like a natural shadow. And what he did with the cross hatching, the hand shadow on the arm is just beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah, nice work. Very. Yeah, I mean, he's very, very detailed.
You were talking here.
Yes.
Yeah. There.
Oh wow. Yeah.
I thought that was Zipatone, but it's not.
No. It's cross hatching.
Yeah. Good night.
Oh my word. Yeah.
Somebody broke his wrist.
He is very.
Because that's exceptionally controlled, and it's just like, oh my goodness, wow, that's nuts.
His stuff is like that. It's just incredibly detailed, and It must take forever to do.
Yeah, Henry, we're
Plus,
looking
look,
at. Yeah,
look at all the stones on the thing on Ben Grimm. Oh my goodness.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, we're looking at the homage cover, Henry, just like you said. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, so Grey Wolf is saying I like Clip Studio Paint a lot better than Photoshop. Yes, for comic art, it's absolutely brilliant. However, Clip Studios contrast filters and those kinds of things leave a little bit to be desired. So, but that said, as a tool
If you're
for
looking
making
for
comics,
an
it kills
inexpensive program
Photoshop
that does
100%.
Yeah, if
All
you're
right,
looking
so
for an
actually, here's
inexpensive
another.
program that does that, Affinity will do.
Yeah, so
Affinity
here's
Photo.
another Art Adams cover. We will zoom in, and this is the pencils. It's a little bit dull.
Yeah, zoom in, and get real close to those areas with the X's in them. Now,
Now, though, for those not in the know, the X
Right.
is just the notice to the inker to fill that in with a solid black. So
Oh.
if it was going to be pencils straight to color, the pencils would have filled in. The penciler would have filled that in with lead.
Mm.
yeah,
Fill it full of lead.
All right, so let's where's my tonal corrections? Let's see if we can adjust the levels here on this one and see what happens, just for fun. Let's get that.
yeah, there you go.
Let's see if we can. Please don't crash. Please don't crash.
Get up the contrast.
Oh wow!
Oh, yeah,
okay,
there you
I
go,
punched
yeah.
it up a little bit too much there.
No,
Okay,
but
so
that there you go. There you go.
I'm getting there. So
Yeah,
all right. So I mean, like his pencils are super tight.
they're
But-
so sharp and tight. That,
But-
you could almost do those.
But if you were to look at this, you can see that his fingers there have a little bit of a little bit of
Noodly.
roughness about them.
They have
yeah.
schmutz.
Yeah,
so
a little bit
here, let me
noodly,
just
yeah.
grab a pen here and so here.
And the
Here, here.
that right there, that would be corrected by an inker.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
you got like a little bit of like stuff going on there. Like so, okay, so we are not nitpicking his art. Please do
Oh,
not.
no. We're just
No.
Yeah.
So what we're just telling you is, this is what you're supposed to do with pencils, and this is what you're going to get. And you're going to see these little things that are kind of like, I don't know about that. What's going on here?
yeah.
because
And the
it-
penciler knows it's going to get corrected in the inks.
Mm.
Yeah.
So
So-
why fuss?
Or
Why
at least
fuss
he's
with it?
hoping. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
That's the
generally-
expectation of going to an inker, is that they're supposed to catch that stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
So like this stuff here and this like that's a little bit like nebulous. Like, oh, I don't know. Like, I mean, this is okay, but this here is like, I don't know what that is. Right.
And Rob
So-
can tell you that I have messaged him more than once saying, "What
Oh, yeah.
is this?"
I mean, I know exactly.
It's this little spot here.
I know exactly what it is. But I'm so used to inking my own stuff. I don't always do it detailed enough for it to pop for the inker. So yeah,
Right.
but that's what email and messaging is for. Get a
Okay,
hold of the
so-
artist and go, what is this?
So now if you notice, I adjusted this, but even still, you're not getting blacks. You're not getting darks. It's still, I mean, it's sharper,
It takes a lot of work in Photoshop
but this
to
is not.
tweak
this.
it to tweak it to get even close to that.
Right. So, okay. Let's take a look at this.
Look
Yeah,
at
look
isn't
at
that
this.
gorgeous?
Okay. So look at that top part there. That top part. How that is translated from the pencils here, right? All right. So he made. I believe he inked his own work here on this. So if you
Oh
look
yeah,
at this top part,
that's his inks.
he totally translated this top part, and he got rid of a whole bunch of stuff up top. Now, if you were
Yeah,
an
that's
inker
his-
there, Barb or
Yeah,
Rob,
those are his inks. Yeah.
if you were an inker, okay, he gave you this page and it has all these robots in the top corners here. All right, and he gave you this page. Would you return the page like this?
No.
You would have inked all those little robots in, right?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Because he put them
In
there,
a
and
real
I,
thin line. Thin line to make them go back. But yeah, I left
yeah.
them in.
So this is fascinating. So you got the pencils here,
I'm yeah.
and then you've
I'm
got
not
like
Vince
this.
Coletta.
Yeah. So, and then you got this
That's an inside joke.
total. You got this like total like. So even from his super sharp pencils, like super strong pencils, he translated stuff for himself. Like he tweaked stuff as he went, right?
Which you do.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And again, this is all to pop stuff out and make things like really, really. Look at this hair. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Each individual line.
Yeah, Henry said if you look at Dale, is it Keon's?
Yeah.
Keon?
Yeah.
I think it's Keon.
Very, very tight. Doesn't need inks. Just make it darker. It's good to go.
Yeah.
Let's say I could say the same for Ethan Van Sciver's pencils. I
Yeah.
inked it many years ago. His first job at DC over Impulse. His were incredibly tight, but I still managed to add texture and stuff like that. So even if you have a penciler who's very, very tight, there's always something an inker can add.
All right.
Well,
now,
and it's usually texture.
It's
that you
usually
can add.
texture. Yeah, it's usually
which
texture.
is-
Yes.
And it really brings it out and makes it lively. So I've
I
turned
have-
myself sideways
I have-
again.
I've always followed one rule. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. So if the inker or if the penciler is giving me pencils, I am not going to try to stamp my own personal style over top of him, because that's not what the publishers are paying for. They're paying the penciler because he's a known name.
right.
And
So this is where we get an interesting scenario with something like
somebody's got their.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah,
who-
you don't want to
yeah.
drown out your penciler, because not only
Yeah.
will you piss them off and you'll never get a job with them again, but you're the secondary talent. So you are there to make your penciler look good. Obviously, if there's something that you see is wrong, a hand that has got 6 fingers on it or 3 fingers on it, you're going to fix it. But for the most part, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Right. But there's some interesting team ups where the inker and the penciler allow each other to give to each other and allow them to kind of end up
Little give and
doing
take.
stuff. So
Yeah, with a
Frank
tight
Miller,
team,
Frank Miller
sometimes-
and Bill
sometimes-
Sienkiewicz, Frank
Yeah.
Miller and Klaus Janssen. Klaus Janssen is more of an embellisher, so he kind of does put his own stamp on things. Bill Sienkiewicz does put his own stamp on things, but part of the reason why they can is because those guys are, in the stratosphere.
And when you say
They have a reputation. Yeah.
just so I understand, when you say fix, do you mean you go back and re-pencil that error, or do you just use the ink to fix it?
I just ink it in correctly.
Okay, I want to, just.
Yeah,
Sure.
You can do it both
it
ways.
depends. It depends on how rough it is. You might have to redraw it, but then you try and redraw it in the style of that person, and then
Yeah. I mean, I've inked Carmine Infantino. That is really rough pencils.
Right.
So I was basically getting a sketch, and I had to make a completed piece of artwork out of it. So
right.
I did a whole issue.
So then, but that also depends on So that also in the comic world, there's also some
That's
guys
called
who do what's
embellishing.
called- yeah, but there's some guys who do breakdowns, layouts and breakdowns, and they pass that off. And then sometimes there's a guy who does the finishes, and sometimes that is the inker. Sometimes it's another penciler who goes in and does the finishes, but even those might be rough, and then they pass that off to the inker, and then the inker is supposed to,
Polish
guess
it.
whatever is supposed to be happening.
Yep.
So here we go into a whole different bracket of inking, which is Bill Sienkiewicz, who is a master of inks, and he totally takes it in a different direction. Any thoughts on this?
I wish I could be that organic. I
Now,
can't.
yeah,
I'm
he's-
too anal. I got to put my lines down just perfectly, and I wish I could be loose like this.
Yeah,
And
because look
just
at that background. There's not a straight edge there at all.
you know,
He did
And
not
it-
use a straight edge,
and it works.
or even a French curve to do that arch in the background, or any kind of template. It's all freehand,
Yeah, and
but it
all
works.
So Yeah, I was trying to find pencils of his, and they were very hard to find pencils because it seems like he just goes straight to this.
He does. Yeah.
And it's just absolutely insane. You're like, wow, okay. Yeah. Now this kind of stuff is actually really hard to do in computer programs. Just so you know.
Oh yeah, that's got to be done in physical form.
So
Henry said it depends on the level of detail in the pencils. Are they breakdowns, layouts, full pencils, whether to add this and that? Yeah.
Yeah, I think Phil Sienkiewicz pretty much puts scribbles on the page and then he inks it.
Yeah, he's it's in here, and he just puts some reference points probably so that he can finish it like that.
Would you like to
he
see
may
some,
even go straight to inks.
Would you like to see some stuff from my perspective?
Sure. Oh, I just had one more.
Okay.
So this is some pencils here by Alex Ross, I believe.
Is sketching.
Yeah, this is pencils.
Yeah.
Okay. And then
he's laying down the values for come back and paint over later.
Mm-hmm.
And then this is inks. This is Alex Ross inks. Okay. So this is where we're kind of transitioning from traditional.
He's got some washes in there.
Yeah. So this is where we go from traditional inks into now we're going to move into something interesting and different where the inks are no longer being used. And what do we think about this? Now we get to here, right? And I would suggest, I mean, there's blacks in there and whatnot, but I wouldn't say this is traditional inking by any stretch of the imagination. There's no holding
It's not traditional penciling either. That's a painting.
Yeah, well, he did. Well, he penciled it first, and then he painted it. So this was Kingdom Come, his series Kingdom Come, which was fantastic. And this is what you get. Like, so, all right, well, since there's no holding lines, does this pop as much as something that we saw earlier, or is this just something different?
It's different art. There's no pencils or inks. It's a painting.
Thanks to modern printing, you don't get the plates don't get out of adjustment easily. You have to work to get them out of adjustment now. The printing presses that are used today, the colors, bang, they're spot on.
Yep.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. Well, they very rarely do the CMYK process anymore. And if you do the CMYK process, you're doing it on specialty machines.
It's separated by a computer rather than by some human being in a studio somewhere.
Now I have a question because I'm a novice. Barb, you said there are washes on the other page. What does that mean?
It's just a thin, you watered down ink to make a gray tone.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you can water them down with water, or depending on the ink, sometimes it's alcohol that you use to water it down with.
So
you actually get your gray tones in there. You call them washes.
Yeah, zoom in on it a little bit more so it can be seen a little better. There you go. Yeah, see? Yeah, that's not cross-hatching. That's a gray wash with it's painted more or less. It's painted with ink.
Yeah, so it's kind of like you're starting to move into watercolor kind of stuff.
Yes, that's exactly what it is. It's
so you're very
thin down ink with a brush.
This is all wash. Yeah. And you can get some really cool effects with that. Yeah. All right, Barbara, you have some stuff to show us, so let's hop over to what you got there.
I do. Back.
Oh, there we go.
In 1994, I was asked to work for Warp Graphics, and this is my penciler was not familiar with ElfQuest, while I was intimately familiar with ElfQuest. And while these pencils, while these pencils were gorgeous in some respects, the characters did not look like what they should have. The faces didn't look right, the hair didn't look right, and some of the outfits didn't look right. So there's my version. Now, can you see the difference? I took Yeah, I took the hair up on Cutter. I fixed the face and the hair and the outfits on both of them.
Yeah.
That is what an inker should do. If you find something that doesn't look right, it's your job to fix it.
So did that penciler react negatively to your adjustments?
No, not at all.
Okay.
Because he knew that it wasn't. I mean, he trusted me to fix it. Let's put it that way, and he knew that I would. Let me see here. Another one. Oh, that's a TIFF. It's not going to go. Shoot. Okay, we're going to do this one. Oh dear.
Oh
Nice.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I recognize this guy.
Yes, and it's a very, very well done panel. Let's I mean, give
Thank you.
props. Give props where they're due. You know, but I thought it was a little mushy in the background.
Mm-hmm.
They're beautiful pencils, and these are Rob's pencils, by the way, for the unnamed comic that we are working on.
Hint, hint.
Yeah, hint. And you know, when you get real close to the background, you start looking at it, and the wools were a little bit mushy. So
Yep.
I fixed
and look at those trees in the background.
I know the trees in the background is what I was looking at. Yeah.
She kicked it, man. She kicked it.
Those trees
and that mist across them. Yeah.
Again, this is an example of what an inker should do. They should bring the pencils to life. Basically, there's texturing behind the mystery guy on the left.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I had some in there, but she changed it, and that's the way I do wood grain, and she came in and did a different type of wood grain, and it's fine.
I like the neck for the second wolf too, the one that's looking kind of to the upper left of it. Yeah.
Which one?
Oh, you changed the second from the left, so you changed actually where that wolf was looking then.
Yes, I did.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah. I wanted to give them a little bit of a mix them up because they were all looking exactly the same. So
similar, yeah,
similar. I didn't change it much, just enough that I thought it added some more interest.
Yeah.
Henry said, "I like the inker to add their style to the art." Ergo, or I think that's ergo.
Examples.
Oh, yeah, ergo. John Buscema. Am I saying that right? Buscema.
Yep.
Buscema. Ink by Fredo Alcala, Tony DeZuniga.
Tony DeZuniga, I believe is how it's pronounced, but that's a guess.
That's
a guess.
Ruby. The base art is there, but all different because of the inks. Yeah.
Yep, that's correct.
Ooh,
that was a really good panel, though. I really like that panel.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This is from Cat and Mouse.
Ooh. Is that Demon?
There's some power in there, boy.
Is this from Vipers?
Nope, it was from the original 4-issue run of Cat and Mouse. And if you know, this is very dark. The pencils are very dark. They come in blue lines to me. So obviously you can't go to press like this. And also he's got bits and pieces that he just pencils right through and leaves the inker to
translate.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's right. Interesting.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So that when you're drawing through, it's called drawing through, so that you can get that piece looking right, but then you expect the inker to take care of the
right. So while these are beautiful, you could never go straight to colors with the blue lines, you know.
So this is really fascinating. So go back to your inks. All right. So then you decide to go with the straight lines as your motion lines there. And
very anime.
if you go back to the pencils, he had kind of like this weird crosshatch thing going.
Well, see,
So-
he had his background going in there.
Right. So this is where inkers need to translate what is it this guy is saying with his pencils, right? Does he really want me to do this, or does he want me to actually just take that and
Yeah. Now, if I would have followed his pencils exactly, it would have been too busy.
yeah.
See, and it would have been distracting to the eye because it would have been too busy. Whereas this way, your focus, the power lines go straight to your main focus, and your eyes are not distracted by all the little cross things going along around there. So we're going to put this back in. All right. So I have to do this slowly, you guys. So I'm sorry about that. I am going to make an argument for digital inks.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Whoops. This is, and I can actually show this now because this has been released to the public. This is Ultraman. And they're beautiful pencils. And you could probably just plump those up. They're nice and tight. You could probably increase the contrast and go straight to pencils. But I have to make a decision here. And I didn't care for the lines coming out of the fingers.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, really? Oh, okay. Because I thought that was pretty cool.
Let's see what I can't wait to see what you did here.
Because I'm also the colorist on these. So I knew what I wanted to do. So this is what the inks look like. So
they come out
yeah.
all together. Okay.
Yep. Here's the pencils. Here's the inks. I left.
Oh,
the
you
speed
took
lines.
out some of the shading too. Wow. Yeah, the black on the legs. Yeah, that's gone now.
That was the black on the legs was by request of the publisher, so that was not my choice.
Oh, really? Okay.
Oh, to remove it was the publisher's request?
Yes, the hand was my idea. The decision to remove the black shading on the bottoms of the legs was the publisher's request, and they were super picky. So I did it as they asked because they wanted it to be able to show the colors.
Yeah, that's
right.
Yeah. That
I
makes sense.
thought it would be a color decision too. Yeah, like man.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and what you did with that pops.
So the
what you did
hand
with the power. Yeah.
Instead of doing this, I chose to do that.
Yeah, I like that better. Yeah.
Yeah.
You did a color hold on the hand.
It is.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, the color holder. So that was my decision as an inker to leave off the lines around the hand because I just didn't think it worked. Because I knew I was going to be the one coloring it, I left them off. So that was nice because I'm also coloring it right now. One more, and this one, image file, is also another one of my Ultraman cards that is currently out. So this is the pencils, gorgeous pencils. You could probably go straight to colors on this.
Yeah, darken it just a tad and up the contrast, and you'd have it.
You bet. All right. So here's the inks. Again, pretty standard inks, nothing too special. However, and this is where, again, you have to do what your employer wants. I did this because I knew that I had to do coloring on this. I did this on two separate layers. The background is on a separate layer than the character. Okay. So that I could, do color holds and everything on the background. They decided that the figure was too big. So we've got the pencils. They approved the pencils. They approved the inks. And then I said, we have to make the figure smaller.
Okay.
So this is the final product. As you can see, the figure is much, much smaller than it was originally drawn.
Because it's on 2 different layers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
So
to do that in traditional style, you'd have to essentially
completely redraw it.
Redraw it on a new sheet of paper.
Redraw the
light
entire
table
thing.
and some finagling, but yeah, thankfully with Photoshop or whatever you use to do this, and if you do it on separate layers like you did here, you've got the freedom to do what you did.
So that's the good thing. I mean, there's pros and cons to traditional. There's pros and cons to digital. But in this case, I knew ahead of time that these guys were going to be super, super picky. And I wanted to be able to make
adjustments on the fly.
Adjustments and corrections on the fly. So everything was on different layers, right? So they could. So when they said, "Can you take out the black on the bottom of the legs on the previous one I did?" It's like, nah, no problem at all. And when you can make this one smaller, yep, no problem. I just reduced it, and the background was still the same. I didn't have to mess with it at all. So that was the big advantage to digital inking.
Yeah, and go back to the inking one again, Barb, because I want to comment on that. Now, look. There are heavier lines on the character, which brings it forward. And there are thinner lines and more feathery lines in the background, making it recede. So that's how an inker can put that what's called atmospheric perspective by doing that. Because in real life, things are kind of bluer in the background. And they're less detailed and they're a little more fuzzy, and stuff in the foreground is heavier. But you'll see there's a heavier line and there's more black on the character, which brings it forward, and then the background recedes.
On the colors, I did the color hold on there so that they recede even more.
Yeah. Instead of a black line, that's blue or whatever color. Yeah.
Yeah, you want a bold line on the stuff that's forward, and you want to mostly focus on because it makes it pop out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just wanted to point that out. Thank you.
All right. Now you can go back to yours.
Yeah, so let's rip through a couple more examples with colors without inks or pages without inks and see what people think.
Ooh.
This is Dan Brereton. So
yeah, another painter.
So actually, I decided to just throw on some inks here to sort of show you what the difference might be, and you can see that in this instance, the inks don't do anything to add anything to this. You know, there's nothing being benefited by adding inks to this. So that's and
Did you go in and ink that little portion just to make that point?
Yeah. So here,
You're right.
Yeah, it doesn't add a single thing to this.
Yeah, it doesn't ruin it, but it really doesn't add anything. Yeah.
Yeah. So now the thing that happens here is we can do this now in today's day and age because technology has changed over time. So.
Yeah, and again, the plates stay in sync in printing now.
Now this is grease pencil. And this is Hero Bear and the Kid, fantastic comic. I love it. But if you look at it from a distance, things don't really pop so much, right? It's a little bit dull. But the thing is, it's lively.
Yeah, you can see the composition lines.
Yeah, you can see the
scratchy lines right there.
So it's a lively look and it's fun, but you don't get the same
softer look.
Yeah, it's very much a softer look. So there's that. There was another page here. Did I skip it? Oh, here. So this is a European comic, and again, this is going pretty much from what I can tell straight from pencil into the colors, and they're doing color holds on the pencil lines, which is kind of an interesting look.
It might be ink, but it's probably pencil.
But they've color holded it all.
Yeah.
Because there's no black there
Yeah.
that
No.
I can see. It's purples and brown, dark browns. There's no black. Yeah.
All right. Oh, and here, well, we got Black Sad, which is one of the best European comics you'll ever read. For art, it's absolutely stunning. So apparently this guy attempted to become a DC artist, and then he did this because DC rejected him.
They're lost.
What?
That is, yeah, their loss.
So as you can see, there's not a single. No, I'm not 100% sure that story is correct, but I think it was him. There was somebody in the European comics industry who tried out, and they didn't get him. But wow.
So he said, "I'm going to show them."
Mhm.
But do you need inks in this? Right?
Not really.
No.
And there aren't any. Nope. I'm zooming in here to look at it. Yeah, there's no inks. That's all. Yeah, that's all heavy.
Yeah,
heavy
it's all pencils. It's all pencils.
Watercolor.
There's
There's watercolor.
over it.
Yeah.
I think we've got two things going on here. We've got watercolor and colored pencil.
Yes, I think you're right.
Probably.
I think you're right. Might be watercolor pencils.
Could be.
So then,
Yes,
for all
could be,
the aspiring comic book creators out there, in order for them to make a decision on whether or not, because they're kind of at the disposal of the artist as they get them, right? If they aren't working with a team. So would you say that they should make that decision based on what the penciler does? Or would you say that they should just plan it from the beginning to get inks? Like, how would it, based on what we've seen, we've shown both scenarios, right?
Yeah.
Where it works and it doesn't.
So it all boils down to what is your intent, right?
And it comes down to a discussion between you and your artist.
Yeah.
If you tell your artist, look, we're going to go straight to colors from your pencil, so make them clean, make them
sharp.
crisp and sharp.
Yeah.
We can't have. It's got to be precise.
Yeah.
And tight.
We're in a case like that. Yeah, how I would do it is I'd do the rough pencils on one sheet, maybe on a regular piece of paper, and then put it on the light box and tighten it up on the Bristol.
Yeah.
So that you have a lot less of the construction lines and stuff to have to erase.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a lot less. It's actually less work. It sounds like more, but it's actually less work. But of course, with digital, you could do all the rough on one layer and then do the darker pencil on another layer. So it's whatever medium you're working in. It's a lot more people working in digital now than before.
I really like that advice, though. It should be a conversation from the very beginning with the
very beginning.
Yep.
And if it's an artist who's going to do everything, the entire look, then you need to have a discussion, like, is it going to be sketched out and then watercolored? How are you going to approach this? Because a lot of works now are like this. They're especially bigger companies, they're cutting out a lot of the production, the assembly line style that was the norm back in the day, where you had a writer, a penciler, an inker, a letterer, a colorist, and because they had to turn one out every single month, so it was like a production line, so you had to have all those steps. Yep. But nowadays you don't have to have all those steps if you don't want to. You can do a light sketch and just go right to color. Right to painting, whatever. But you have to have an artist who's willing to do the whole thing themselves. You can't do a light sketch and hand it over to, somebody else. It's all right, color that.
So maybe what we're telling aspiring artists is learn how to do it all. Don't just learn how to be a penciler. Try and learn at least a little bit of every aspect of comics creation, from lettering to penciling to inking to colors, to just learn it all. And learn. And if you're going to do it in digital, learn your programs. Learn them inside and out. So you know you can make up your own tricks. then, or learn as many tricks on how to use that as possible. But yeah, I think it's going to take somebody. You're going to have to have more schooling, I think, to become this kind of artist. You can still do it the old-fashioned way, but
the bigs
this kind
are
of stuff. Yeah,
the bigs are tending to hire artists now, more artists that will do the pencils and inks in one stage because they're saving money that way. They don't have to pay. They can, instead of paying $100 for a penciled page and $100 for an inked page, they can pay $150 to one artist to do the pencils and inks. So it saves money in the long run.
Yep.
Right. And then if you're looking at a page like this, they don't do inks, so they don't have to pay them for that.
They don't have to pay the colors.
Color and boom. Okay.
It's all there. Yep.
So, all right. So we've seen some examples of, this kind of more modern look where you don't have the inks going. But now we're going to go back to a classic. There's some classic pencils, and you can see that this is all that's there. Not a whole lot, just enough to tell the story almost. And then we go to the actual inks, and that looks like this. So the inker, whoever decides to ink this, then adds in a whole bunch of details or removes
textures,
details.
atmosphere.
Yeah. So if you go back to this here, you can see that there's not a whole lot. That cityscape is looking a little bleak. There's no detail on Spider-Man really. Okay, now what? Now we've got detail on Spider-Man. We've got detail on the city. So this is where the penciler is allowing the inker to go to town and play a little bit. But of course, this discussion would have been had before it got to this point. And said, all right, this is what I'm going to do. I'm only going to do the basics, and you can fill in the rest. Go to town, go. And then you as a penciler. So back in the day, a lot of pencilers they trusted their inkers, and they said, okay, do your thing, and they'd let it go. So yeah. All right,
that is sweet. That is really sweet.
Okay, so I brought this up. I brought this up for a very specific reason. I just grabbed this. It's a 2099 Spider-Man.
No X's.
And the reason why I brought this into view is because this is what we were talking about earlier. This is just pencils, and as you can see, if you just have pencils, it's washed out, right? Like what? Like, yeah, we could.
It's very sketchy.
We could, yeah, and I wanted to bring it in as sketchy and kind of loose and all over the map. And so this is why you need inks. The inks just help things pop out. Like here,
that would be fun to ink. That would be fun to ink.
To start popping stuff out and whatever. And if you wanted to go straight from this into colors, you could, but
a lot would get lost,
blurred. I mean, it's going to be kind of
It melts together.
So, and I brought this. I did this one too because this is tighter pencils. But again, if you go straight from pencils on this to the inks, or not to inks, but straight to colors and whatnot, it's just not strong. So the inks are important, but determining your style of art is also important, right? So
it's a personal choice.
You can do the sketchy comics and stuff, but you need to. Your images still need to be clear in a sense that people need to be able to read what you're putting on the page, and it needs to be able to tell the story. All right, one last image here. Somebody might recognize this.
Yeah, that was done in that's pencils, yeah.
This is straight pencils to color in Quantum Leap, Rob Davis art. And so this is what that looks like. So as you guys can see, it's
partially
a softer...
because the somebody came in and put inks over the top of it to make it pop more. Yeah.
What?
Yeah. I was told to do it in just pencils, but yet they had somebody come in later. This is the first issue I did with that style. The second time I did it, I did the outlining pens, the inking.
So they saw it colored and said, that doesn't work. So they had somebody ink over top of it?
Yes. Yep.
Really?
Yep. It got,
So the outline is ink.
Yep.
So the
in that
interior
particular
is,
one. Now, some of the shading you'll see there in that costume there, that's pencils. The shading
Right.
is pencils.
this year.
But they came in to give it more outlines. They came in and inked it. So yeah, that's shading.
So the interior lines are pencils, but the outside outline is inks.
Yeah,
The basic lines are
yeah,
I came back in and inked it after the fact.
yeah. They
Very
came
interesting.
in to make it pop a little bit more. And you'll notice part of the problem is that they went with real pastel colors.
Mhm.
So
Well,
it doesn't.
a monotone color palette, basically.
Yeah.
Almost.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So yeah, it didn't work very well. But the second time we did it, I came in and did my own adding the inks in to make it pop more. But it still had, and I did more shading. I did heavier shading, so it worked a lot better.
All right. Well, that was our adventurous run through of inks. I don't need no stinking inking, or do I? And I think we see the
Sometimes you
benefits of
do.
inks. So inks, but it is in this day and age, it is a decision that you can make.
Unless
from
you're
the
going to go with
get-go.
the painting style.
Yeah. So it's
I would suggest inks.
yeah. So inks still make things pop, and it just gives it a oomph that you don't normally get if you just use straight colors. And you get a little bit more punch and a little more clarity. So even those European books that I was showing you, where they didn't do the inks, you could just kind of see that everything kind of like going, yeah, just kind of like became kind of flat, right? So it is something that you definitely need to keep into consideration. Now, Black Sad, I mean, the color contrasts are fantastic in that, but I mean, that guy's stellar. So, all right. So we've hit the top of the hour and a little bit beyond. We're sorry for keeping you for extra time there, folks, but thank you for joining us and learning
Give
about
a like and subscribe on all your
That's
social media networks.
That's right. Don't know if the Fund My Comic is still running. If it is,
Shouldn't be. It ends at 9, which
so
is
yeah,
9
but
Central.
Kalis was available, but if not, go to your comic stores and ask them to order Silverline. You got Divinity, you got Wolf Hunter, you got what else? Twilight Grim, you got Kalis, you got books upon books, and Silverline is there for you. All right. So, what do we always say at the end of our stream, ladies and gentlemen?
You ready to push your button?
I'm ready to push my button.
Silverline.
Hey, make mine Silverline.
Hi, I'm Greg Horn. Make mine Silverline.